I think that hookup culture, one night stand, I think everybody sucks. How many women I've heard that will say like, oh yeah, guys just don't ever like to go down on me. Like, what the f? Or how many guys will say like, oh, like, yeah, I don't care about this. I just want to fucking do this shit. And like, or anytime, here's my go-to, okay? This is my go-to, all right? When I ask a guy, like, and maybe maybe my sample size is fucked, or maybe I have a selection bias. Whenever I ask a man, like, oh, like you some whatever girl last night, was it good? Did you like it, or how was it? The first thing they always fucking say is, who think that like this for 5 minutes is a good blowjob? It's like, what is happening right now? I've never. Maybe
you don't understand.
No,
that.
I don't. I don't like this. People keep pointing to the East and we're like, oh, well, in Japan they do blah blah blah. Bro, in Japan they're literally having a crisis right now where men are virgins on average till like 39 years old. Okay, I don't know if Japan is a society you want to point to say these are who we're going to be emulating. All right. Hello, I know what you're thinking. Destiny. I need a VPN, and guess what? I have one of the largest VPN providers in the world here, ready to cut you in on an amazing deal. They're called Surfshark VPN. Check out surfshark.deals/destiny. Use my promo code. Not only are you going to save a bunch of money, not only are you going to get it free for 3 months, you're also going to get their free antivirus program. Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure they've got like a browser. You can sign into their VPN. You can check out all your favorite TV shows, all your favorite movies, Hulu, Netflix, HBO, from all over the world, from out of this world. Keep your internet traffic private from that pesky McDonald's Wi-Fi that you log into when you get off work every night and you're eating your food. Check it out. Surfshark.deals/destiny. Sign up now. Free antivirus. Few months free. Major discount. Check it out. What's up?
Okay, all right. So since Erudite's here, let's just get straight to the first one, all right? Because I wanna channel the wrath of the YouTube chat.
Good.
Okay?
My conservative YouTube chat. They're all conservatives in there now. Yeah. What do you got?
Wait, can you compliment my choker first, and then we can talk about?
Oh yeah. Are you wearing one right now? Let me check. Oh, she is wearing one. Yeah, definitely like those. If I was on the panel, what's an unreasonable expectation for men? For us to not assume that a woman's a whore, she's wearing a choker. I think that's unreasonable expectation.
Damn. All right, step one. The
But
name calling has started.
Trolling. No, I'm trolling. That's me joking. Don't take me
Okay,
serious.
gotcha.
I did want to say one thing that Erudite said that kind of stood out to me. Erudite, you sounded super disappointed when men said that they wouldn't cuddle with women that they're not banging.
Was that Erudite or was that Aristocracy?
Pretty sure it was Erudite that brought that up, no?
Erudite, are you listening? Oh, okay.
I am listening. I'm disappointed that men are not cuddling with women.
Somebody brought up the idea that like men don't cuddle with women, and one of the women on the panel is like, "Oh, well, why won't they?" I heard that, but I don't know.
I think that was Eris, but I can try to steel man her position if you'd like.
Okay, so if it wasn't you, then I won't make you steal.
Boring.
Yeah.
No one wants to steal, man. We want people actually
I did
upset.
talk about in general that like men are not getting it. So what I said is that men are not getting enough intimacy, and it seems like they have replaced sex, like intimacy overall, with just the idea of sex. And so like when they try to get intimacy, when they feel that need for feeling close and vulnerable, and like comfortable with somebody, their only thought goes to sex typically. Whereas for women, a lot of times they're going to meet that need through cuddling, sometimes massaging each other, and sometimes sex as well. That would be more my position.
Okay, yeah, I don't disagree with that. That's perfectly acceptable.
True.
So then I'm going to just move on to what Destiny said that I thought was wild. I believe Steven said that we don't like sex.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that now. Yeah, I think that hookup culture, one night stand shit, I think everybody fucking sucks. How many women I've heard that will say shit like, oh yeah, guys just don't ever like to go down on me. Like, what the fuck? Or how many guys will say shit like, oh, like, yeah, I don't care about this. I just want to fuck and do this shit. And like, or anytime, here's my go-to, okay? This is my go-to, all right? When I ask a guy, like, and maybe maybe my sample size is fucked, or maybe I have a selection bias. Whenever I ask a man, like, oh shit, like you fucked some whatever girl last night. Was it good? Did you like it? Or how was it? The first thing they always fucking say is, oh dude, it was awesome. She was so hot. Who the fuck cares? What the fuck does that have to do with actually fucking somebody? Like, and that will be the start and the stop for what any man generally considers like 95% of sexual interactions. And it just seems so horrible and shallow, and not even shallow and there's no emotional, but like, what, are you even having good sex? I think the vast majority of people that do hookup shit don't have good sex. I think it's boring and stupid and empty. Not empty emotionally, but empty in that like you're not having wild, crazy fucking sex out there. Absolutely.
Okay, so what are you qualifying as good sex, first and foremost?
Where people are good at what? Yeah, what? Go ahead.
We have to take it 2 steps back.
Sure.
Okay.
Go 2 steps back.
You're talking about what's good or bad sex. That doesn't matter whether or not they like sex or not. That's irrelevant. People can have bad sex and still fucking love it.
Oh,
and
sure. If you want to be, sure. That's true. Sure. I guess. Yeah. They like the idea of it. I guess.
They're enjoying it. That was what your original claim was. Your original claim was the people don't even like sex.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they are enjoying the act of sex so much. They just like that they're having it, and then they can say they had it. I think that's for a lot of people that do hookup shit. 100%, I think that is the case.
Can you explain the difference between those two things? Like, I don't see what.
If you're having a decent amount of sex, if you fucked at least like I don't know, at least 10 or 20 or 30 people, like there are some things that you should be very good at. You should be very good at fucking. You should be very good at giving head. If you've never fingered a girl before and you fucked 30 girls, what the fuck are you even doing? Like there are a lot. If you don't know how to use a toy in a girl, there are a lot of things that like seem to be par for the course for guys that are having sex. I'll hear these people that are getting hooked up with or hooking up with people all the time that don't have any basic sexual skills. Like what the fuck are you doing? Missionary or doggy for 5 minutes till you come and then you're done. And it's like this isn't good sex. This is garbage. This is trash. This is high school level shit. And that seems to be the vast majority of like hookups or one night stands that happen, which is just mind blowing to me. I don't know why people. I would rather jerk off than fuck a girl in doggy style for 5 minutes, bust and leave. Why would I even waste my whole night taking somebody I don't care about to dinner? Never mind. But yeah, go ahead.
Yes, but you're speaking from the position that you've made improvements.
Keep hating your life then.
You're talking from the enlightened position. I've gotten so good at it. I'm able to do all this stuff. Look at all these normies who can't do what I do, so it can't be enjoyable. What I'm trying to tell you is that some people just like routine. They like doing the same thing over and over. I know people who eat the same meal every day of the week. They don't give a fuck. It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy what they eat. It just means that they like the same consistency. I understand what you're saying because I feel what you feel, but I doesn't mean that I don't look at them and be like, they don't enjoy it. Of course they do. They love it. And the reason why the guy comes to you and be like, yeah, man, sex was so awesome. She was so hot. Is because for a lot of people, the mental aspect is the most stimulating part. Meaning they look at a hot woman and the fact that she's willing to get dirty and eat their asshole or suck their dick. Oh, I got this hot woman to let me inside her. That's enjoyment for them. You may not define enjoyment the same way they do.
Yeah, I think that shit is hella cringe. People, I guess, are right to have their own shit if they want, but that sounds like notches on a bedpost to me. And I don't even mean in the traditional, like, oh, you just want to number, but just in the, like, oh, I'm so happy that I fucked someone. And it's like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Like, what'd you do? Oh, yeah, the same old. But, like, I'm so happy I got to do it with a different girl. It's like, why the fuck do you care? Like, why does it matter to you?
Would we maybe differentiate, because this is something I've thought a lot about, of like when we talk about like liking sex, it feels like there's actually a lot of things going on there. Like one of them is like, I like the physical activity of sex.
Yeah, high performers, absolutely.
Yeah, they tend to be creative. They tend to try like feathers all the time, and they do like a whole bunch of unique stuff because it's like sex has become kind of an activity, and they distinctly.
Or it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't have to be like crazy. Like you don't have to be crazy experimental, do crazy shit like that. Yeah. The number of girls that I've hooked up with who think that like this for 5 minutes is a good blowjob. It's like, what is happening right now? You're fucking 28 years old. Are you fucking serious? You're sucking me up like you're a high schooler who's of legal age or whatever. Like that amount of shit. Or I'll hear the same thing from girls who will say things like how many girls I've met. They're like, oh, guys have never gotten me off from like, giving me a head before. And it's like, it's the easiest thing in the world, but they just haven't been with anybody that does it. I don't know what people are doing. And I'm not Abba. You're describing this like, oh, well, you're talking about like acquiring like a special set of skills like the fucking Dad and Taken. I don't mean it like that. I mean, if you're fucking over a period of time, like generally people are going to improve because they enjoy what they're doing. If you're just something like to go in and it's like the mental aspect of getting to have sex with someone is the thing that's stimulating you, that just seems really sad to me. But some people might do it, but.
Well, maybe there's this other category like lusting or libido. I'm not sure like what to call it, but it's like I don't like the activity of sex that much, but I like the process of acquiring and like knowing that I could acquire. Like I can fuck, not necessarily like I want to fuck, but like there's some pleasure in saying like I like to acquire sex. I like the process of like pursuing sex and achieving it. The actual sex
that's what
is
people.
Like, nice,
yes, what you
but
saying.
I actually care more about this.
That's what I think most people are like. Like 95% of people, at least in like the influencer talent world or whatever, people that are doing hookups seem to be those types of people. They like the idea that they can say they've had sex, and they like the idea of trying to get it so that they could say they've done it. But for the actual act itself, they just don't give a fuck.
I'm not going to disagree on the fact that they may not give a fuck that much in regards to like being good at it. I just think that whether you enjoy the entirety of the act or just being able to get to do the act and what it means in your head, the fact that you experience joy throughout the process or afterwards, I think means something. And if you ask me, do people like sex? Yes. They might like it for different reasons. Some people will like it for the artistry. Some people might like it for like all the discovery. And some people might just like it because like, damn, I let a hot person fuck me or I got fucked by, you know what I mean? Some people just like it for different reasons. True. But I believe that most folks, yeah, they like sex.
Yeah, sure. If you define it like that, yeah, sure. I would say that, yeah.
Okay. Then I think that's the main thing, because I think when you start describing like, man, people's blowjobs and all this other stuff, it's like, some folks don't need a whole lot to be able to enjoy sex. Some folks don't need to do all that extra.
Yeah, because it's not anything to do with the act. It's just the idea that they got to do it. They're so happy to like join the club,
or maybe they got a basic urge. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do you enjoy masturbating, even though you do it 5 times a day?
Yeah, but like
better. No, but hold on. You're not getting better at masturbating. You're not like trying to improve your technique every day. You do the exact same fucking thing and you jerk off 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody would ask you, do you enjoy it? You're like, yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy
but that's because that's masturbating. People, you guys are not you guys. Hold on. You're talking about people that are treating sex like masturbating, right? But what I would do is I would just masturbate. If I knew I was going to hook, I've done this, where I know that there's a girl, I've either had a one-night stand with her or hooked up, and she's like, oh, we should blah, blah, blah. It's like, I know what it's like fucking you. I would rather masturbate because I've got more time to play League of Legends or work on my manifestos otherwise. People that hook up and treat it like, oh, I just want to do like quick like masturbation thing. Basically, well, what the fuck is the point? Other than the validation or whatever bullshit is going in your head you get from doing it.
Or maybe you want somebody else to masturbate for you.
Well, isn't there kind of like 3 categories in that we're talking about? We're talking about some people who like, they like to pursue sex. That's like the best part about them, is like that I can get sex. Other people really like the activity of sex. And then some people are just wanting to orgasm, and they like orgasming the most with other people. And so like, I'm sure you can have a combination of all 3 of these things.
Okay, hold up. Okay. Listen, I love my hand. My hand is amazing. My hand takes care of me amazingly well. I don't know what happens when another bitch touches my dick, but when she puts her hand on it, it feels like it's a whole new world. But it's just another hand.
I can't. It's a self-report on me. You're right. I've never.
Maybe you don't understand that.
I don't.
I've had someone give me a hand job, and the technique is terrible, but it feels amazing. I don't know what it is.
I can't. We're different in more than just the way we look, Abba. We're different. We are fundamentally different people. That might be a self-report on my end. Maybe most people are like that, because I hear people say things like, I see so much advice given on the internet. You know what? Fuck. I actually just might be so fucking wrong. I might be. I see so many people saying things like, there's no such thing as a bad blowjob. Bullshit. I've had plenty of head where I would have rather jerk myself up, where I have to stop the girl, and I'm like, all right, we're hopping off the train right now because this is not fun for me. Like, but you're telling me that just the fact that somebody else is doing it for you elevates it over any like you just masturbating?
Okay, so let me say this: there are good and there are bad blowjobs, but a blowjob always feels kind of okay. Like, hey,
no, really? Okay.
Yeah. There's warmth on my dick. It's a cool sensation.
Okay.
As long as it's not teeth, like we're off to a really good start. Okay, I'm not saying it's a. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question for you, Destiny. So, because I feel like what Ab was talking about is like massage. Like anytime I've got like a sore muscle, if I massage it for myself, I might be able to like move out the knot or anything, but it doesn't feel overly good, but it is effective at like my goal. Whereas if somebody else massages me, even if it's shittier and it's less effective, it still feels better for some reason.
I play the opposite. No, I don't. I play the opposite games with girls sometimes. You know, girls complain about guys pushing their heads down. There are some girls where I have to like pull them up, like, no, don't go down there. Let's just, you ride me or I'll fuck you. We'll figure this out. All right, your mouth and my dick are not working for me right now. Okay, this isn't happening. But the idea that you guys are describing sex. Hold on, and I'm sorry. I'm loading a lot of this. I'm not trying to be judgmental or sound like that, because different people might engage with different ways. But it sounds to me like when you guys are describing sex, you're talking about like tickling, where it's like I can't tickle myself, but somebody else can tickle me. Is that what it's like for you? So like you go to masturbate.
That's kind of true though. But that's true.
Yeah.
But it's true for tickling, but not for orgasms.
No, it is true for orgasms as well. You can definitely get tickled to an orgasm.
This is why I like the massage, because the tickle one is a little, fair enough. But like, this is why I'm going with massage. Like somebody can give you a shittier massage, but you like it more.
Only if it's in a part of my body. For me, that would only be in a part of my body I can't reach. Like if I hurt my arm or something, like I'm going to rub my arm better than somebody else like fucking jamming their hand. But if I can't like rub my lower back really well, that's like really hard to do. Somebody else doing it is going to be better, right?
Okay, I think that's where you're like kind of like maybe
autistic.
Like, than us.
I'm okay being autistic here. That's fine. Call it. Say it.
Are you diagnosing yourself?
No, I'm not I'm asking you for a formal diagnosis that doesn't breach the APA ethics.
We'll book our ADOS. We'll book our ADOS session together later.
Okay. The other thing that I heard said. Okay, I think you took an issue with what I said. I said looks matter for men, just not. Okay, yes, something about the looks department. You said you heavily disagree with what I said. Can you repeat what I said?
Okay,
And then just
men
what you
have
disagree
a
with?
really broad spectrum of what they're allowed to look like, both in pop culture and in terms of dating success, because women don't tend to select only for looks. You can get away with some dumb shit if you're a guy for only for looks, but even as an attractive guy, looks will only take you so far. Like, you know Hassan, right? Very attractive guy. If he was a loser with no job or whatever, some girls might fuck him, but they're not going to date him. A guy, even the guy that looks like that, they won't date him. This guy's a fucking loser. They might fuck him, but they're not going to date him, right? So all the other success he's got is helpful. Whereas for women, you could have the most loser, trash, piece of shit fucking woman in the world, but if she's hot, fucking A, dude. As long as she can kind of manage the house and not let shit, fucking guys will chase it. And they'll try to date it and even marry it. So I just think you can do a lot more as a guy to overcome looking a certain way. There's a lot more value that women tend to look at you for there. Whereas for women, it can sometimes be pretty narrowly restricted to like how young do you look or how fat is your ass or your boobs or whatever is technically how it goes, yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I just think you might be slightly discounting how important looks are for men as well. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I don't do. My statement is not that men's looks matter just as much for them as it does for women in terms of social dynamics. I don't believe that.
It's
but
dependent
I think
on who's
it
pushing.
matters a lot. And listen, as an ugly man, okay, it is an absolute deterrent in terms of like meeting people.
It can be, yeah.
That be especially on dating apps, because I think this is where dating apps is
on
really
dating apps, sure.
men.
But listen, this is what I'm going to tell you. If you're an average guy, it's more important to have a 6-figure income than to be 6 feet tall. 100%. Absolutely. Like, yeah, like looking nice is really good, especially for things like Tinder or whatever. But if you're well put together, you're a stable dude, you got a good ass job, you're making decent money, you're going to be able to pull a ton. And if you're just a guy that's really attractive, you can pull a ton for fucking. But for dating, you're going to be pretty fucked as if you're a loser.
Sure. I don't disagree with that. I think when I was in live stream chat, I was mostly responding to, I believe, what Aristocracy was saying, where she was kind of just going off the rails with like, guys
Orthodox
trying
Jews.
to conform. I'm not even talking about that part,
Yeah.
but there was like a portion where they were kind of just discussing the fact that like, you just think about who you want to be attractive to and like, just focus on that. And the guys, I feel like they're being pigeonholed too much into these looks. And just the way the conversation was unfolding, I'm like, no, these looks for men absolutely matter. There's a reason why if you go to the gym and you take care of yourself physically, it will 100% translate to women in terms of how attractive they find you. But it will not be the only determining factor. That was, I think, the majority of my statement. And so it's just important for guys to know. Yes, you can have a dad bod. Yes, you can be overweight. Yes, you can be skinny. And it can work. But there's no doubt that being half decent looking is going to help you.
Yeah, of course. Being attractive will help you in almost anything in life. Yeah, for sure.
Then we agree.
But it's way more important. It's way more important for women than it is for men. If you're a fugly guy, you can do a lot to fudge around the lines. If you're a fugly woman, you are like fucked.
Okay, so here's my spicy take then.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of women, especially feminists, when I hear them talk about like, oh my God, these look standards are so oppressive for men, I feel like they're just strawmanning men's issues because it relates directly to their own. Meaning if they can find a way to take down this whole like, oh my God, these look standards are so oppressive for men, it can somehow translate to women and the fact that like we don't accept the fact that they're severely obese or whatever.
Well, hey, listen, when it's, what is it, like 75% of women are obese or at least overweight in the United States, it's pretty rare by definition, it's rare to not be fat.
Yeah,
do you think maybe part of this like disparity as well is that like, so I feel like as a woman who's more interested in men, there's a lot of times a lower standard of attraction that I would just apply to them than I would maybe apply to a woman, in large part because like men don't use makeup and it's kind of socially norm. So like our expectation of how attractive a guy is always going to be lower. I think that's self-evident. I'd be curious, do you guys think if men started utilizing makeup, like I encourage most men being like,
no, why would you encourage men to do that? Are you serious?
Because if they want to, it'll make them look better.
Yeah, so we can all be as fucked as women are in the head with fucking beauty standards? No, women should be using less makeup, not men using more makeup. What the fuck?
Bring that 2 steps back. You said you encourage men to use makeup?
Specifically like brow thickener, yeah.
Oh my God.
If they're on dating apps is exclusively aesthetic. And like the reality is like most straight men are just like not super aesthetic and they don't know how to take good photos. A brow thickener alone can bump you massively in your attraction.
Ooh, how do you think most women would react if they found out that a dude was using makeup on himself?
Negatively, definitely. But I think if they don't find out and if they're attractive enough with it on, most of them would probably adjust. I don't think it would be a deal breaker for most women.
And so why is it just eyebrow makeup, whatever? I don't know.
Because I think like the obvious appearance of makeup is going to be like it's not social standard for men to wear makeup. Like obviously, if women can tell you're wearing makeup, it's going to be negative. Where something like brow thickener is actually really difficult to tell. It's very subtle, so it like slightly improves your looks without.
So basically, you're saying like guys should use filters on their photos.
Eyebrow filters. Sure.
Horrible.
In dating apps, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
What about 6-pack abs, like the ones that you could edit on photos? Would you accept that?
So here's the thing, like you don't want to be catfishing, especially
What's
for
what's the
men.
difference? What's the difference between the eyebrow stuff and the
Well, putting on an
6-pack?
eyebrow filler, you can always wear it, right? That's why, like, I don't know if I agree with people being like women wearing makeup is like catfishing. That's like, yeah, but if she wears it basically all the time, she always kind of looks like that, right? So if a guy is consistently wearing like, when I'm saying filler, like it's like a makeup application, right? He can wear it most of the time going out on dates. You can't like draw on 6-pack abs. And just to be clear, I'm saying this descriptively to help men. I don't think it's something I would prescribe of like this is better for society overall necessarily.
Okay, hold up. I don't know what the word prescriptive means. What does that mean?
Telling people to do things, they have to do things.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is I'm kind of describing a solution for how the world is right now for men, particularly in dating apps, to like improve their chances of getting a date. I'm not saying that this is necessarily like the best thing that will lead to a better society long term.
So what if there was abs that guys could just draw on anytime they needed to? Would you think it'd be good and prescriptively acceptable?
So they could just like magic it and their like beer gut would
I
disappear.
mean, we all have abs. They're just they're hidden sometimes. Okay.
Yeah. Like let's say they just got a stomach. It's a tiny bit flabby, but if they draw appropriately, they can
Get some
make
bronzer
abs.
out, do some contouring on the tummy there. I think that's not too bad. Right?
Are you with that?
I suppose if they want to, just like realize the reality is if it's really noticeable, women are going to find that unattractive because men wearing makeup isn't socially normal yet.
Yeah. Uh, nah. I guess if it can help you with the online dating apps, I guess it's a thing. But I don't know. I'd look at a dude funny if I ever knew he did that. And I think most guys would be so self-conscious about the fact that they're even having to do anything like that I would be like, nah. I think the problem is that women's makeups is so like acceptable within like modern society, and like most folks don't say nothing. That what you say sounds great in theory, but when we try to apply it to men, I think where it kind of falls apart is like we all have an instant like disgust with it, viscerally speaking. And whether it's the abs or the makeup, there really isn't a difference other than we've made it societally acceptable for women to have all the makeup. But there's no difference.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with you, right? And so, like, if you want to talk about like a better society overall, we can talk about that. The idea is like the reason why men wearing makeup is such an issue is because it's not with men wearing makeup; it's with men getting caught wearing makeup, right? Being found out of like, oh, you're obviously wearing makeup. Where there isn't that issue with women. If a woman's being caught wearing makeup, everyone's like, yeah, that's super normal. And then we feel a little weird if it's like makeup to like such an extreme that like when she takes it off, she looks like a vastly different person. Like people feel a little weird about that still. I think a little bit, which is why what I'm saying, like when I'm giving this advice to men, I'm not saying like this is a better society. I just realized specifically with dating apps that most straight men are a little bit fucked.
Yes, I think when it comes to pictures and stuff like that, I don't disagree with you. Women definitely have an advantage. But I think the reason why people recoil from it, and this might sound a little bit true traditionalist, is I think when it comes to androgyny in men, like kind of crossing the boundaries into things that we traditionally see as feminine, we just tend to recoil because naturally in our brains we see it as off-putting or something's out of
And
place.
so will women.
And
just
so,
to be clear. Yes,
you know,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
You can be as, gender bendery as you want to be, but if I see a dude in a dress, I'm gonna laugh viscerally. I'm gonna laugh inside. I'm like, that's weird. I can be like, do whatever you do, but
Yeah.
so it's the same thing.
I'm
If I
just
found
wondering.
out a dude was like doing his eyebrows for pictures, I'm like, you know what I mean? That's a little flowery, but do you?
Right. And here's the thing, right? That's kind of interesting because actually thick brows is typically a marker of masculinity. Right. If people don't think that like male models and all these things aren't getting like eyebrows filled and all that stuff, like you're laughing. Of course they are, right? And so I'd be curious though, because there's a really big difference, I think, in like, I think we're all somewhat within a similar age range. Do you think though that in younger generations, we're actually progressively moving a little bit away from like the very traditional norms of like at least male aesthetic?
Male aesthetic, I think, has been bent pretty hardcore throughout. Maybe, I don't know if all of human history, but in all of my lifetime, men have a wide variety of ages and of body types that they can fulfill. Women's, for a while, I thought, was getting blown open. We went through the Pamela Anderson shit, then we went through this like kind of like girl next door shit. But now with Instagram and everything, women are just the architects of their own destruction with how inhuman, how fucking disgusting and alien-like they look today. Dude, being in Miami, it is actually gross. Like, I think there are legitimately like women that are hard to look at when I walk by them. Like, you actually look like a fucking duck. Like, I can see the glow off your face of whatever augmentations you've had. Like, I hope you at least have fucking 5G in those lips, because Jesus Christ, otherwise it would be fucking just sad. Like, yeah, so that's pretty fucked up, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you just repeat your question briefly? Because I Destiny had me laughing.
You're good. I was wondering if you think, like, in younger generations especially, do you think they're moving away from that, like, traditional, like, it seems like black nail polish, for example, is kind of becoming an in thing with younger kids. And I know a lot of girls who find it genuinely really attractive. And so do you think that, like, the younger generations particularly would maybe be more open to, like, if a guy's, like, 4 dates in, she's like, you have amazing brows. And he's like, yeah, on a trick, I actually fill it a little bit. Do you think she'd be like, ugh? Or do you think, like, especially think, like, 19 to 23s.
And let me say this:
every
all these guys do these.
Hold on. This is this generation's skinny jeans. Okay, that's what nail polish is. Okay, when I was growing up, I remember skinny jeans came out, and then everyone was like, "Oh, that's kind of girly." People started rocking them, and that became a thing for a long time. Now the skinny jeans have faded, and now people are back to wearing whatever. And I think right now we just deal with the nail polish. It's not that deep. Do I think women are going to get to the point where like dudes are doing full on makeup and they'd be like, ooh, I think that's so sexy? I think there's some people who would like to believe that they would get to that point, in the sake of progressivism. But I think viscerally speaking, I think people are still always going to.
Well, actually, I disagree.
Wait, but men's jeans have been skinnier over time. So then we got really skinny in like the grunge period for a bit. But after we came out of grunge, men's pants are much more like cut than they were in like even the 80s. It is UGG. But is it less UGG now than it was then? Like, I feel like there's a bit of a change. Like, I feel like we actually are somewhat.
They might not be like baggy crazy like they used to be, but I don't think they're like skinny jeans skinny, right? Like they were like, yeah.
We found a middle ground. But
there's like a middle. They're more tapered, maybe, to borrow Cherry's word of chat.
But they're pretty tight on the bum, right? Like most men's jeans that look nice are like a little bit.
Well, yeah, but wait, hold on. Even classic jeans always made guys' ass look good. Right, even the classic like cowboy shit, yeah, they climbing on the horses, you'd be like, oh yeah, like even traditionally, you're not. I don't think, unless I'm crazy, I don't remember even in the '90s there being like baggy jeans. Like they might hang off your legs, but they're still gonna like hug your ass.
Yeah, hug your ass, and then I was gonna go on to scream like a little bit looser in the quads. Nobody wants to see your moose knuckle, and then again, kind of tighter in the calves, and then loosening out around the ankles. Again, not as tight as skinny jeans where it's just like stuck down, but there's kind of this tightening overall, whereas in the past, for example, there'd be no tapering around the calves.
Hey, listen, this is super technical, talking about men's legs, which is something I never really think about. But I will say, do I believe that this generation bends more than we did in the past? Sure. I just don't think we're going to go past the point where it's going to break. Do you get what I'm saying? I think there's a cutoff point for most things, and I just don't know if we'll ever get to a point where dudes are wearing full-on clown makeup like women can.
No, you can. Here is how it'll happen, okay? To quote the prophet Dave Chappelle, okay? A man's test is a woman. We might make fun of men that wear fucking eyebrow, whatever bullshit right now, but men, especially, the more you hate women, this is absolutely true. The more you hate women, the more important a woman's opinion is about you. Usually the most hatred that a person can have of a woman is because women have scorned him, because the opinion is so important to the man. If it was the case that 5 years from now, putting fucking eyebrow shit made it so that you could like fuck more women on Tinder and guys found out about that shit, every motherfucking CVS in America would be selling makeup for men. Men would have fucking YouTube channels about how to perfectly do their fucking brows to pull the hottest number of bitches they can off Tinder. It would absolutely become mainstream instantaneously if it was the case that it was effective at pulling women. Guaranteed.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that. I just don't believe that women get to the point where they would want that.
Yeah, maybe not, but
Yeah, because
I
mean,
think
listen,
I think most women would get over it. Like if
there was a point in my childhood where, when I was in high school, I think, where it was around like the pop punk era, where guys wearing eyeliner was considered hot, and they started to get more into that stuff, like Taking Back. No, like I think was it Newfound Glory? Oh God, who did American Idiot? Oh my God. It's not Taking Back Sunday. It's not Newfound Glory. It's not 311. It's not. It's like the fucking, like the most popular punk pop. Yeah, Green Day. I'm pretty sure they wore it like in a lot of their music videos. I think Bright Eyes, or the Killers, I think wore it in their videos, and all those pop punk music videos. All those guys had like pretty heavy makeup on. Like you'd see like eyeliner and shit, and yeah. But then I think that fell out when the next trend came around or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if women start seeing, like, there's a reason why a lot of like straight women will like be like, oh man, that guy's so hot, like he must be gay because he takes care of his aesthetic. Like I think women actually want aesthetic in men, and so like I think there are definitely some women who would like cringe if a guy like on his Tinder profile says like I wear lots of makeup, right, and like high heels. Like most women would be like, ugh, right? But if, for example, like Justin Trudeau is considered the sexiest world leader, and he like threads and fills his eyebrows and like manicures things and like takes really good care of him. Like the reality is that like we actually do like a certain level of like self-care aesthetic in men. We just have also like done this weird thing where we shame it as well. Even though I would argue women want it to some extent, they just don't want it to the extent that the men becomes feminized. But I don't actually think a thickening brow it's actually distinctly a masculine trait. A nicely
I don't either.
beard.
I don't either. I think what is feminizing is the fact that they're using makeup to get wherever they want it. That would be where I think people would look at it funny. It's not the fact that he's making his eyebrows thicker. That's not the issue. It's the fact that he's using makeup to get to that point, I think, is what's weird.
I mean, we'll say that, but like every single, I think what you're erudite, there's like a thing, like people, they want men that have makeup on. They just don't like the type of men that put on makeup on themselves. It's like that type of thing.
It's kind of the same. Yeah.
Like if there was like a device where a man could like stamp his face, or like I'm makeup for the day, like everybody'd be chill with it. But it's the idea of like thinking of a man like in a mirror, like, you know, like doing the eyebrows and like the mascara and then like the fucking foundation, the bronzer, and getting everything in the eyeliner. Like it'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want to be. That's like a super feminine man. But if there was a way you could stamp your face, I think women would be like, yeah, fucking do it.
Yeah, there's a whole e-boy aesthetic based fully around men's makeup and like beard quafting. Like there's just a whole thing, and it's becoming more popular. I would say distinctly in younger generations. Like it's just makes you look better. Better or worse. Hopefully it doesn't go as far as women do, because I would agree it's kind of fucked.
It is super fucked.
Okay. Third thing that I wrote down.
Yeah. We took notes.
I try to take notes because my brain doesn't work well. Fuck. I think this is some error.
I have to go in like 5 or 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's some aristocracy said. But she asked the question. I think she said, oh, yes. No, you actually asked this question. You asked, what are some unreasonable expectations that are placed on men in society? And I think the main one, for me, from my perspective, is that men are expected to lead and to have it together. That's not. Okay, yes. I basically said that there's something in dating dynamics where men are kind of seen as these like physically imposing figures who are kind of dangerous and threatening, but at the same time are also expected to be the ones who are like able to read your emotions and to catch your nonverbal cues and to help you through situations, because society's made it hard for you to voice your opinions. And so it's like the people who are also threatening and like scary and imposing are also the ones who are supposed to help you communicate things that you may be too uncomfortable to communicate. And I think that expectation to have it together, to lead, but also to be super emotionally sensitive and to all this stuff, I think that's probably the expectation I think is most unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious what you think my opinion is, and if you think it's different, then that means I did a good job moderating. Do you think that I would broadly agree with that?
No, because I want to be contrarian.
Base. Awesome. Thanks. So there's this idea that I talk about a lot with a lot of my viewers, which is that it seems like in modern dating, men are in a bit of this double bind where there's a lot of traditional values like stoicism and providing and pursuing and all these things. You had a list of paying for the first date, being the one to initiate all the kisses, and it always has to be implied consent, and all these sort of things is kind of thrust on men. But then now also women are saying, but I also want a sensitive guy. And they'll never say I want the pursuing guy. They'll usually just be like, why didn't you ask? Or like things like that. Like you should have asked more. But then they also say that they want a really emotionally available man. And then the issue is that A, we don't really teach men like what emotionally available means. B, we kind of tell men that emotionally available looks the way that it does for probably women, and there's probably a bit of a different way that emotional availability is expressed between the two groups. And so it feels like we parent boys to be like the least emotionally available, the least like emotionally in tuned, and we don't really teach them healthy ways to like regulate or express necessarily. And then they grow up and they're told, okay, now you have to be stoic and pursue and the leader and kind of like dom in a lot of ways, but also be emotionally available, want to be egalitarian in the home, kind of be like a bit of a house husband. And so it's like we're basically asking men to be perfect, which seems really unfair and extremely ironic based on like I think a lot of situations that men are finding themselves in a modern dating climate.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't expect you to have that take, but I agree.
That's fair.
That is true, but men can't even meet the lowest of bars. Have a job, have your own place, don't be a fucking schizoid, and you're already ahead of like 95% of guys, because guys on the dating market right now are fucking trash. Absolute trash.
Yeah, which is why I said like men suck, so do women, but like there's different dynamics going on that are making each of these groups kind of suck and each of these groups do better. And we have to just talk about what they are and be honest.
Okay. All right, and the last thing I was going to bring up was I think there was a discussion in regards to men's vulnerability, and I think Destiny said something like, yeah, dudes will call their friends and be like, hey, man, have a good night, and then kill themselves, right? Something like that.
True.
Yeah, I thought that was poetic. And basically the final question was like, how can we get dudes to open up? Like, why aren't they doing it? And I don't know how you feel about it.
So many fifis on this. I have so many fifis on this.
Okay, I was just going to say, I think the main thing with dudes is that there's an expectation of us to be able to lead and to take care of things and to manage a lot around us. And I think it's very difficult to feel like you can do that, whether true or not, when you are basically expressing to people what you're really struggling with and how hard it is. I think then you kind of break that mold or that idea that you're trying to hold of like you having your shit together when you don't. And I think it's just easier in those regards, at least that's what you convince yourself, that it's better to keep quiet and to keep that shit to yourself than it is to share that with other folks. I'm not saying this stuff is good. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying that's what I believe is happening.
Yeah. There's this something I actually realized in my own relationship when my husband and I went through a separation about last year. And so I had to do a lot of like self-analysis of like, what the fuck happened? It's not working. And I need to figure out why. And I realized that I don't want to say for everyone, but I feel like a lot of women have this implicit bias that basically is that trad. Like men are going to be a little bit more emotionally solid, they're a little bit more stoic, or maybe they just feel a little bit less, right? And this, I'm saying it's implicit because I think explicitly most women would be like, of course men have feelings, and of course those feelings matter. But what I noticed every time I got into a fight, and my relationship with my husband is pretty egalitarian, it's very much not a very trad relationship at all. And yet when we got into a fight, say he brought something to me that he was feeling some sort of way about, and he just wanted to kind of vent and talk about his feelings, if it upset me in any way that he felt that way, suddenly my feelings took precedent over his, even though he had brought this up first. And suddenly it became about me. And I actually think that this happens a lot in a lot of like heterosexual relationships. And I actually had to do this pause where I went, wait, if this was my like best friend, like one of my girlfriends who brought this exact same claim to me, what I feel so strongly and what I feel a need to insert my emotions into the conversation and make the conversation about my feelings first before his issue. And I realized, fucking no, obviously I would never do that. I would just like hear their feelings out and be like, yeah, that's really valid that you're feeling that way. So I don't think women actually let men talk about their issues. And then when they do, there's a lot of like, not all women, but there's a lot of this like weird babying. They'll be like, oh, like that's too bad. Or like, oh, like they'll kind of infantilize a little bit. And maybe that's because
they'll say that's cute.
Yeah, and maybe that's because like we do it with each other a little bit and maybe it works. But I've always found like when I've had like guy friends that are struggling, I've always been thanked by them because I like intentionally try to be like as non-infantilizing as possible. Like they'll be like, oh man, I'm just like really fucking like I'm devastated, like I'm so sad. And I'll be like, yeah, that's super fair. Do you want to talk? And I'll try to be like super even keel about it.
The flip side of that for men is that it is the thing that sucks on the guy side is anytime emotional issues are brought up, the man is almost made to feel responsible too for both halves of it. So if the guy has a problem, he needs to figure his shit out. Why are you putting this unfair expectation on the woman? And if the woman has a problem, The guy has to figure shit out because why are you making her feel that way? It feels really weird as a guy to bring an issue to a woman, be like, hey, you're doing something that is making me feel bad. And to even have that boundary, I found out that this is even an issue for me, which I would have never even imagined. I found this out, I found this out with someone recently, where it's really hard as a guy to bring an issue to a girl, like, hey, you're making me feel this way, and I think you need to stop. It's very weird to tell a woman that she needs to change his behavior. It feels wrong to even say it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does, because you're always used to things the other way. But what you said about them making their vulnerability about them, I brought this up to you, Steven, the other day when we were talking about why dudes are afraid to open up, and then we were talking about it. I remember you kind of, I felt like you just saw it was crazy people who do that, who are afraid of that. You basically made it sound like the only guys who are afraid to.
What I said was that I don't think it's a problem to open up. I think the main people that have issues with it are people that come off as being weak generally, and then they also are vulnerable, and then it's like nobody cares. Like you just sound like a baby.
But here you have Erudite, who herself is saying that when she's been vulnerable in the past, she's had negative results because of the fact that, she made it about herself. So I don't think that necessarily her.
Well, no, hold on. I don't think her issue was that she made it about herself. I think the issue was that she was always making it about herself. That sounded like the problem.
Which is, I think, the experience that a lot of men have. That's what I was trying to tell you, that a lot of times when we're expressing our vulnerability, for women, it's like the little badge of honor where it's like, oh, he opened up to me, or they infantilize, or they really focus on themselves.
Yeah, I get this. Expressing a vulnerability is different than like, I have a problem that I need you to fix. If you're just talking about in terms of like, because like there could be a lot of vulnerabilities you express that have nothing, like I'm vulnerable because like I feel unhappy with like the relationship with my parents and this is bothering me my whole life. That's a vulnerability you can express that has nothing to do with like, I need you to change behavior. If you had framed that whole argument as like vulnerabilities that were constrained to the act of like, this is something that you're doing that makes me upset and you need to change it, then I probably would agree with you. Yeah, because it feels pretty hard for men to make demands of women to change their behavior. It always feels like women are fixing men. Like how many men are like, oh, I'm going to fix that woman? Never happens, right? But there are so many women like, I'm going to fix that guy. So I would probably agree with you there, sure. Or that might have just been me miscommunicating, or you. I'll blame you.
And just I will be clear though, like the reason that this was happening with Nick, like my husband, is he's not really like weak, right? Like I don't think anyone would characterize my husband as like a weak man or like a more like effeminate or like anything like that kind of man. The issue was that basically like I was biased to assume like my emotions were more important, and the reality is I think he was too, right? Like I think we both bought into this because I think it's just kind of part of our gender norms a little bit. It's why like unironically like women can kind of be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was like really terrible, haha, I was just a little bit emotional. Like it's the infantilizing that we've like always kind of given women, which is both harmed women but also gives them small benefits, right? And I think that this is a dynamic that I see a lot, and I'm not saying every relationship has this, but I think it happens more often than not.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that's ever going to change. I think there's a very sound reason why. I think generally when women traditionally show emotions, I think we've always been kind of taught to protect in that regards. And so when we see women crying, we see it as a moment of crisis. That's just how we kind of view it. So naturally, even if I was conveying something to my girlfriend and I was explaining something that really hurt me, and she started crying, I would immediately start focusing on her tears rather than the moment that I'm having because she's upset. And I just think it's just a natural order of things. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I just see it as somebody who's dealing with something. I think it's just very difficult to feel like there's a space for me to open up in that regard. So when it feels like that space isn't really meant for what I'm going through, but more so for how it makes the other person feel, be it special, be it whatever. And I don't know, like I told Steven the other day, I was the whole like, oh, that's cute. Like, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it in words, but viscerally it just disgusts me when I think of like men going through something bad, and like a lot of women's response is like, it's cute that he can open up that way. I'm like, oh.
I mean, but men do the same shit with women where it's like, oh, it's so cute that I got your virginity, right? Like men do the same shit. Like we all value like special experiences. I don't
understand the parallel there with the whole
parallels that people like to. I think it's cringe. I agree with you, okay? But that's because I am autistic, okay? But for normal human beings, I think that they like to feel like they're sharing special, unique moments with other people. I want to be the one that is the first time we try this thing, whether it's something sexual or emotional or seeing a movie or whatever. Like try this. Like you're on a date with a girl and you think she likes you, you like her, and you're like, oh shit, like I saw this movie with X girl last week. She's instantaneously gonna hate that movie, right? Even if it's a good movie, you're like, well, fuck, you already saw this with another fucking girl. Like, what the fuck? Why am I here with you? You know? Like people just like to feel like they're getting special experiences, even if it can be a little cringe. And I agree with you, it absolutely can be. But like people are like that, you know?
I think it's different if like you and I are sharing a special moment. For example, like let's say it's the first time you go horseback riding and that you trusted me to teach you through that. And I'm like, I feel honored that you taught me that. That's different. When I'm sharing something traumatic with you and you're like, oh, that's cute. you let me see
If
that.
somebody says,
I
that's
think
cute.
those two things are a little different.
Well, no, if somebody says, that's cute, that's cringe. I agree with you. But if they're like, hey, I think it's really cool and special that you thought you could trust me to share that with me. Like, I appreciate that. I don't think there's anything cringe about that. It makes sense.
Or maybe it's just in my head. I just don't understand the need in that moment to make it about yourself. That's all.
Well, it's not about yourself. It's about sharing.
I have to be
Leave.
the
No
worst.
one cares. Bye. See ya.
I gotta go.
Bye.
Nice chat.
Yeah, we were done talking to you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right.
All right, now that she's gone.
All right, let's get to the real incel talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I took one more note that I think.
Good.
Okay, having your own place. I know the chat, you and I are probably going to agree on this one.
Yeah.
Okay? Probably more than I just didn't understand everybody be like, yeah, man, like stay home at your parents' all stuff. Maybe it's fine if you don't really care about fucking. I just don't understand how people can stay at their parents' place till like they're 29 and still have sex consistently. I'm
trying to imagine. Yeah, they're. I agree. I've thought about this. Like you're like 25, and your mom, you're like getting in a bed. And you're like, oh, I love you, honey. Like I'll be back. I'm gonna go say hi to mom and dad. Like, oh, what are you doing? What is happening right now? Yeah, that feels so fucking wild to me.
Bruh, one of your chatters said to me like, well, why don't you just like rent a hotel? I'm like, how do you think I'm not having sex? Well, I can afford a hotel every time I need to get laid. And what? I know this guy never tried it. Because there's no way you can comfortably take women you were going on dates with to hotels regularly.
Yeah,
that would just be like, what, am I some kind of prostitute?
Yeah, or porn star. Like, where's the fucking camera, you know? Yeah.
Like, who are you hiring to fuck? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying that financially it's not tough out there. I'm not saying don't get roommates. I got a roommate to this day and I make a lot of money. I think it's great to want to think about your finances. But if you are a man who is actually out there trying to date and fuck, I do not understand how you stay at your parents' place and do that. I'm not saying it's not unfair. I'm not saying it's not expectation. I'm just like, how are you getting any pussy and staying at your parents' place? How?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I do agree that like if I think about it more, I can see worlds where that is the case. It's just usually when I think of people that live with their parents, it sounds so mean, I'm sorry, but usually they're losers. But I can imagine there are probably people, and I'm sure all of you in chat right now that live with your parents, where you're working a job, you probably help with some bills around the house, you've got your own shit, you got a car, you do everything, but you live with your parents and saves money, whatever. But you can do your laundry, you can do everything. Like I imagine those people are probably doing okay, you know. That would yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like this. People keep pointing to the East and we're like, oh, well, in Japan, they do blah, blah, blah. Bro, in Japan, they're literally having a crisis right now where men are virgins on average till like 39 years old. Okay, I don't know if Japan is a society you want to point to say these are who we're going to be emulating, all right?
I will say that like it is true. For example, I got Bengali friends and they're like not allowed to leave the house until they're married. Like there's some cultures that are like that.
Oh, for brown in the United States, like Hispanic people sometimes, depending how traditional you are, can be like that. Yeah.
Yes.
You have like big intergenerational houses, like grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, and aunt, and like siblings, or like we'll live like in the same fucking house. It can be small houses too. Yeah.
And I recognize that, and that's cool. But I don't care about these people because they live a reality that I don't give a fuck about. You know what I'm saying?
Based.
Like they're engaging in arranged marriages half the time. Like who cares what they think about dating?
Sign off on that, but
they live in a different reality than you. Okay, their mom and dad comes to them like, "Hey, we found you a husband," and they're like, "Okay." That's normal for them. So whatever they're doing, I don't care. For the rest of you guys who trying to get some pussy, I don't understand how you trying to get laid. Unless listen, I've met a dude before who like his mom said, yeah, bring the girls over and clap those cheeks, whatever. Like, she used to give him condoms and stuff. Hey, listen, if your family's that progressive, congrats, okay? And maybe that's an exception. But even I know the fact that women would feel uncomfortable, especially past like the age of like 25, going back to your parents' place. What woman is just gonna sit there and be like, yeah, oh, you live with your mom and dad, let's go back? Like most of them not gonna be down with that. So, I don't know. I just thought it was so crazy that people were like, that's an unfair expectation. I'm like, if you want to fuck, get yourself some privacy. You don't even have to live by yourself. Get roommates.
I will say, though, that standard might be changing, though, because fucking rent in every city in the U.S. and up there, too, in your 3 cities in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal is, like, getting unbelievable. Like, you're like these Midwestern places. I think somebody just linked in Chicago, like the median rent is like $2,000 a month. It's like, holy fuck. So yeah, who knows? I mean,
I don't disagree that it's becoming crazy. I don't disagree, but I think, you know, people got mad at the New York Times because they put an article that was just like, what, were you guys struggling with the living situation? Well, here's a new idea. Get roommates. And I'm like, bitch, we've been doing that. Why are you guys writing this like it's a brand new idea?
Obama.
But I think that's gonna have to be the solution for a lot of people, because I think the whole idea of living by yourself in this market is very difficult financially. But again, you just can't be at home fucking with. You can't be at home fucking. I just don't understand. Were you allowed to fuck at home?
my my parents were gone before I started fucking, I think, because my dad moved out when I was 16 and my mom when I was 14. I lived with my grandma, and I tried to fuck around that, but my grandma was also going senile, so sometimes she would just walk in and not notice. But that was a weird time in my life. It was embarrassing though. Yeah. But I moved out as soon as I hit 18, like I was gone.
Wait, stop. You were fucking and your grandma walked in?
Yeah, but she's like, it's hard to explain. She had Alzheimer's. She just was. There were times when I walked. Okay, this is like an example of how fucking weird the lights were out for a long time. Okay. I remember so I don't even know where to start. My grandma's a very weird person. Okay. She'd go through about one dog a year. So on one of these dogs that she had, I remember that this dog pissed all over her floor constantly. Okay. And I don't know why, because I've never seen this dog pee ever inside of my entire life. And one night I heard it as I was going to the bathroom. I was up too late playing video games, and I heard it at 2:30 a.m. I heard this dog pissing on the floor, and I was like, oh my God, this small dog is taking a massive piss. And I remember that I opened the door slightly to see what was going on, and my grandma was standing there with her eyes closed, leaning against the bed, just peeing all over the floor. And I was like, oh my God, this dog is about to get his ass beat tomorrow morning. My grandma's been doing it the whole time. That's the type of grandma I live with, okay? If that makes any sense, all right?
Great twist. I didn't see that shit coming, bro.
Yeah,
that's a good story, bro.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if you ever do a live set one day, but if you ever do, tell that story. That's fire.
I got a lot of grandma stories, but
I'm just saying, as a stand-up.
Have you ever done I did the one thing.
I feel like I can tell when the twist is coming. I couldn't see that one coming.
Have you ever done the thing where you're fucking at a parent's house and somebody opens the door? People always have the thing where when a cat gets scared, like boom, it like jumps right up. Like off the bed, yeah. Have you ever had the thing where you're messing around with your significant other and parent opens the door and you two fly apart to separate ends of the room like faster than you thought humanly possible?
Nah. I never even played that.
Yeah, that happened at my girlfriend's house sometimes in high school. One time, it was the worst experience in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you tried it too many times, so I know that's how I know you're brave. Because I did it one time. Mm-hmm. And you know what's fucked up? I didn't have a room. I just lived in the basement, which meant like the stairs just accessed where I was.
Yeah, no fucking door even, or?
There's no door. So, but I was so horny, and I was like, I gotta do it.
Yeah. So
I was fucking this girl, but it was so bad because the whole time I was fucking her, I just kept staring at the stairs and thinking like I heard somebody upstairs. So I was just terrified. And so that's how I spent the whole 30 minutes just fucking her while looking at my stairs. And she did not like that shit at all. And I snuck her out of my place. I don't know if you're like this. Mm-hmm. I'm so terrified of my mom finding out I fuck. Like I live with my roommate. We were 2 hours away from my mom. Mm-hmm. And even when I masturbate, I have to close the door even if there's nobody else in the home because I always just get terrified someone's going to walk in.
You ever do that thing where you're like in a hotel or you're home alone and you want to go poop or whatever? And you're like, I want to be brave, and you leave the door open, and it still feels like really wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
This is my house. I live here alone, but you still feel like it's just, I don't know what it is, man. It's just things that are burned so deep into our brains, we just can't overcome them, huh?
Yeah, I can't make a lot of noise when I'm fucking. Like, I can talk to a person, but if she starts screaming, I'm like, bite the pillow, because I don't want nobody to hear. Even though there's nobody around, mm-hmm. and I'm grown, I still have that mindset. This actually, I don't know if we discussed this, but this is, I think, where the whole sexual repression comes into place.
For men,
depending on like what kind of upbringing you had. I think even though you may change environments, a lot of that upbringing still carries over.
Bro,
how you view sex and how you engage in it. I can't be loud in sex.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You have to make an effort to do it. I don't know what the fuck it is, but women turn into fucking porn stars when you put them up against a thin wall. I don't know why. The loudest women I've ever been with in my life are when they're in my apartment and I know my neighbors here, or anytime I'm in a fucking hotel with events where there are like a ton of other people around me who know who the fuck I am. And in those situations, I don't know why, women will always be the loudest motherfuckers in the world. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Can you not just shut the fuck up for 1 second of your life? Like, holy shit, it is so obnoxious.
Sometimes you know what it is?
No. If you're about to say what I think you're going to say, but go ahead.
They're peeing.
What? Okay, that was a twist I didn't see coming.
No, they're basically just like kind of marking their territory.
Oh, okay, now you want exactly. No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just. I don't think so. But I understand what you're saying.
listen, I mean, maybe they just like making a lot of noise or something like that, but sometimes it does feel a little bit forced with some of the ladies.
I need to make sure your neighbor knows that yeah.
Yeah. Well, hold up. Do you think that they be leaving stuff behind? Do you think they'd be leaving stuff behind on purpose?
Depends on what it is, but I know they'll take stuff.
So you don't think that women leave their shit behind on purpose when they're in their bathroom?
It depends on it depends on the age of the people. If you're talking about people in their 30s and shit, no. If you're talking about some chick in her like early 20s, I could totally see her being like, I'm gonna open door and leave some hairbands here. Shit that like guys don't notice. But like another girl comes back, she's like, what the fuck is this hair thing? And you're like, I don't know, isn't that your hair thing? I know what every single thing that's ever touched my hair looks like. What bitch was over here? You're like, oh shit, I don't know what your hair shit looks like. Oh fuck. Yeah, I know that younger girls would do that. I don't know about like girls in their 30s or late 20s. Like,
okay, do you have a pair of underwear at your place, or you don't know who it belongs to?
Me and Melina are fucking sluts, so at this point, probably several people's pairs of shit. Yeah, but I'm probably not the best example. But
I was looking at this pair of underwear I had, and I'm like, I don't know who this belongs to. And I had a suspicion who it did belong to, and so I kept thinking about Messenger. But every time I did, I'm like, what if I'm wrong?
Yeah, not good.
Then I'm just in an awkward situation where she's just like, yo, who else have you been fucking? And I know you don't use condoms, so I just didn't even want to risk it.
Just burn them.
Yeah. I actually want to ask you this one last thing. When aristocracy kept bringing up matchmaking, what the fuck was she talking about?
Well, matchmaking in what context?
At the end, when she's talking about dating so hard, finding someone you're compatible with is so difficult. And then she kept bringing up matchmaking.
I don't even know.
Ah, fuck. That's why I wanted to ask her. She was saying all the craziest stuff. At one point, she said something that I thought was hilarious. She was like, guys, if you're struggling, just picture who you want to be with and just think about that and think about what they would like and then just go for that. What do you think about that advice?
It's cringe. It's like when people are like, oh, just be yourself. And it's like, bro, if be yourself was working, this person wouldn't be coming to you for advice. Like, what do you mean? I don't like platitudes like that. I think that it requires a little bit more thought. Yeah.
Yeah. You say this, and so I'm kind of just repeating it, but I agree in that the issue with the red pill people is sometimes they say things that are absolutely true that nobody really wants to admit. Yeah. So when people rail against everything they say, they're like, well, I can verifiably check that that's true.
Yeah. So as soon as you miss one of those, you've lost all trust. As soon as you say one thing where everybody's looking at you like, wait, what the fuck? You're gone. You've lost it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the issue I see is like, even though I don't subscribe to some of the crazy ideas these guys say, it's like, yo, it's absolutely true. Like, yeah, you should be working on yourself on a variety of things. Women do look for certain things. Like, some people are fighting against the idea that, women care about income level.
Yeah, people say some shit like,
guys,
people say some shit like,
okay.
They'll be like, a girl doesn't care how much money you make. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I know I can never listen to you about literally anything ever in my life for the rest of my life. So thank you for revealing yourself. Yeah.
It's the most basic shit. Listen, as a 17-year-old, I knew. As a high schooler, the reason why a lot of girls didn't want to fuck me, one, I was ugly and didn't have any game, which who has game at 17 generally? But two, it's like I had nothing else going for me. You can't be ugly and have nothing else. So I immediately knew to work on stuff. I made sure I had a job all the time. I made sure I had my own place. And instantly, everything changed after high school. If you're an ugly kid in high school, like you have to hope for things to get better afterwards in terms of everything else in your life because you can't change the way your face looks. So when I hear these people talk about this stuff, I'm like, there's no way you're actually dating, or there's no way you're actually dating consistently enough to be able to make these claims because it doesn't bear out in reality. And the problem I have with people saying this kind of stuff and having an audience is like, they're basically lying to these people, selling them false hope. Yeah. And then when they get mad later on because all the stuff they've been fed this whole time is not true, then of course they're going to be red pilled. Of course they're
ultra red pill. Those are the people that go the hardest because they realize that like they're finally hearing that. I think that's like why Jordan Peterson and like Joe Rogan and even I don't know if I put Ben Shapiro in the same category, but like people like Jordan Peterson are able to pull like young men over to them so easily because these guys will speak to truths that people on the left would never want to acknowledge, that they're like terrified of acknowledging. And it's like, well, yeah, if you're going to hear somebody for the first time in your life, like holy shit, a lot of the things that Jordan Peterson says is like this guy's actually like understands life. You've instantly lost that whole crowd if you're not willing to speak to any of those issues.
Yeah. It's the same thing when the whole discussion came up about like the whole consent stuff, like active voicing of all this other stuff. I'm like, do you guys fuck anybody? Who are these women that are just proudly open and talking all the time? What majority are they? There's nobody out here even doing that shit. Who? And so whenever when I was listening to the panel earlier, it's always one of those things where I question how much practical, because we don't have numbers on a lot of this stuff. Okay, there's no stats.
Yeah, it's really hard to like study this 100%. You know. Yeah.
Right, and so I accept that, and so I'm like, at least have dating experience.
Sure.
At least be
Although then it gets really shitty because like you don't want to be like, because now you're getting into the weirdest like ego about like how many women have you fucked? Like what do you like that? It's like toxic as fuck to even go down that road of trying to like pull credentials on like dating shit, you know. And to be fair too, people's experiences are going to like wildly vary based on where they're at in life, you know, what culture they're in and everything too. So it gets really hard to figure out who's actually got a better, you know, like key in reality or whatever.
Sure, but if we don't have any stats or anything else to rely on, all we have are people's experiences. That's it.
You need to at least have some experiences. Yeah.
Like, if we don't have nothing that's objectively true in terms of like verifiable facts, we have to rely on something. And so everybody's basically talking about experience. But if you're somebody who has little to no experiences, then why does your opinion matter? Everything is just theoretical, which is great. But until you apply it in reality, then you can't see how any of this stuff works or doesn't work. It's like when people just tell me like, yeah, women will just love it if you're direct. Just say things directly to them. That's how they like it. Like, have you tried to just say things rough and tough to ladies directly? Sometimes it's just like they like a little bit of tension. They like a little bit of uncertainty in regards to things that you're saying so that it creates a bit of romance. Because that's what romance is. Romance is tension. It's very rarely direct, like, I want to fuck you. No, it's the implied stuff that they like. And so I've tried everything. Let me rephrase. I haven't tried everything. I've tried a lot of the stuff that people prescribe. Have you tried the whole, like, I really want to have sex with you tonight? Have you tried that a few times?
I've tried being very straightforward and very open. I actually think it works pretty well, but it also might be the type of person that I'm typically going into. But it's difficult because like not everybody will have the confidence for it, or because the circumstances won't line up, or because people are kind of cringe about doing it. Like for like they're like I probably won't have like a like, oh, these are all, here's a list of what I'm okay with and here's a list of what you're okay with and now let's go from there. But like you can do things like if you sex with somebody, like you get an idea of like, oh, this is probably what this person is into, probably what they're not into or whatever, stuff like that. It's not going to be as like as formal as like filling out consent forms, but there are conversations you can have. Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you: have there been times where you've tried to be direct and it hasn't worked out?
And it hasn't worked out.
You can't have a 100% success rate. That's
the thing is that like usually by the time I've gotten to that point, I'm usually like pretty like I don't have a 100%.
Then you are direct. Then that's not being direct. Essentially, what you're doing is that you're walking to the you're trying to breadcrumb the horse to the water. Then beside the water, you're like, you want to drink it, don't you?
Well, what I'm saying, hold on, wait. What I'm saying is that like I don't have a 100% success rate with everyone that I'm talking to. That's true. But by the time I've gotten a woman to a point where we're talking about sex, I'm usually pretty sure this is like we're on the same page. I think is it. So like my first conversation with him was not going to be sex, but once we've gotten to the point where we're both talking about it, it's pretty sure it's going to happen. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So then I agree with you, but again, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. When they're talking about be upfront with your intentions, that's not what they're referring to. They're not talking about where you get to such a comfort level where now the breaching the topic of sex is cool. Because no, that could take 3 to 4 conversations. That could take a bit of time. It's very rare on the first conversation you're going to just jump in with that. My whole point is, even though these kind of things sound great in theory, when you actually try to do that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Man, I've had the funniest rejections as a result of trying some of the goofy stuff that I read up online, because I was just like, everyone says this is the right way an ethical way to do stuff. Let me try it. And then I come to find out these people don't even do the very stuff that they claim that you should be doing. So I don't know. For me, when I hear people say, oh, I do that, I'm like, do you actually? And if you're being honest, how many conversations in do you start breaching the topic of sex and go very direct with it?
Super depends on how the person has contacted me. Like when I did like dating apps, which I haven't done since I've gotten to Miami, so it might be different here. But in dating apps, it would be like within like the first like 5 to 10 messages, I'm like, hey, this is what I'm after on Tinder. If you're not, whatever, that's chill. But just like being straightforward, because I didn't want to waste time like trying to play some dumb dance and then the person's not interested in just hooking up or whatever. So I would be like pretty straightforward there. But otherwise, yeah, it's going to depend on how, if it's like a friendship that graduates into something sexual, then I'll probably get there. But if it's a girl that messaged me and she seems like pretty flirty off the bat, I'm probably going to move it pretty quickly. It just depends on what's going on. Yeah.
Right. And so when you're being super direct like that and you're saying it like, listen, this is what I'm looking for. How many times are women like, nah, I'm not interested?
Fuck. I might not be I feel like I can usually tell. If I'm asking, it's almost like a court thing. If I'm asking, the answer is going to be yes. But that's because I can tell but like if a girl's not interested, I'm probably not going to ask because I can already tell she's not interested. I don't know if that makes.
No, that doesn't make any sense. You've matched with the girl, you breach up the topic like, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
If she says, if she's not looking for the same thing, then that's just like that's a 50, well, not 50-50, but some girls are just like, oh, like I'm not looking, or like I'm trying to find like somebody to date or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we're done talking, right?
Okay, so that happens to you.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, the majority of conversations on Tinder, the majority of conversations, even the ones that match with me, and you already start chatting, if I'm like, okay, hey, just so you know, I'm literally either dating, back then I was dating or engaged with somebody, I'm looking for like hookup related stuff or like friends with benefits, whatever. If you're not okay with that, then just, like the majority of those be like, oh no, I'm looking for something more serious, and that would be over. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So thankfully, thank you. I was like, bro, there's no way you're having magical results. Okay.
No, yeah.
You experience what everyone else does. Now, if I'm a dude who struggles with dating, okay, and I'm hearing this be direct stuff, okay, and I'm already having a hard time, and I'm being told to be direct, what do you think any of this advice does to help me actually get laid?
Yeah, I guess it's going to depend, because I view a lot of that advice as like, this is the advice that's coming after you've already like, it's either for people you're dating or people that you've gotten like pretty far in with conversations. If this is stuff that you're using to like open conversations, you're probably pretty fucked, I would imagine. It's not.
What do you mean?
Like the whole like be direct thing, I thought was like a manner of having sexual conversations, not like this is what you do to even get to have sexual conversations. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, no, the way I kind of understood that advice is basically like, just be upfront with your intentions with women. Don't wait till you're going on dates or all this other stuff. You know, you should know right away. That's how I understood it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, I'm you can be open like that, but you're you're gonna, it just I guess it depends on when you're applying this. When I think of like the whole be open stuff, I'm applying it at the level of like, I'm ready to have sexual conversations. Now, how do I want to have it? There's like two ways to basically go about that. Like if I feel like this is probably, I think I'm probably clear for takeoff here. You could be like, hey, do you want to like get drinks tomorrow? And then that's it. Or you'd be like, hey, like, do you want to get drinks tomorrow? And like afterwards we can hook up if you want or something like that. That's where I feel like when that gets implemented is at that stage of the conversation. Not like I'm first talking to somebody and I'm telling them immediately like, hey, this is my sexual preference. Like, do you accept? You know, that would be hyper autistic.
Yeah. And you mentioned the fact that you're a streamer. Why do you use cheat codes?
Well, for me personally, because that's the last 13 years of my life has been streaming. If I wasn't a streamer, I would have nothing to talk about. Like, that'd be like, people always say that, I don't know if you've said that or if we talked about this before, but people are like, oh, you talk about you're a streamer. Okay, well, if you're 32 or 33, I mean, like, I imagine you would talk about your career. You're either a programmer, engineer, lawyer, something successful you've done. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to talk about like the job I've had for the more than a decade of my life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but you also have to admit that's a bit of a cheat code. It's like you coming on and putting in your profile like I'm rich. You don't feel like that's unethical?
I mean, if you're rich, you put you're rich. But like, I don't know if, honest to God, I don't know if being a streamer helps that much. Unless I think if you were like an Instagram influencer, I think it would help more. Because the vast majority of girls, this is so embarrassing. The few girls that I've talked to on Tinder, when they have heard of Twitch, there was only 2 girls that ever had actually heard of Twitch. Well, no, there were a couple of like gamer girls. And for that, it definitely helped. Like go all the way, which was nice.
What do you mean? What do you mean? They were like, hey, can I come on your stream?
Like they had like Twitch streams and shit. So they were like, oh shit, like, yeah. So, and that is like a shoe, and you're like, okay, 100%. But for other girls that didn't have like Twitch streams or whatever, they'd be like, Twitch, oh shit, that's like where the girls do like the hot tub stuff. Like that's literally all they knew about it. I think at this point, I'm probably better off saying I'm big on YouTube, but I don't think I was like 3 years ago enough to put it on a Tinder profile. But I don't think Twitch helps so much.
Let me ask you then. All right, this is my final question. Within, okay, so Twitch is its own world. There's big Twitch streamers, small ones. Do you think it's acceptable for male Twitch streamers who are huge to fuck female Twitch streamers who are small?
As long as everybody's in the up and up, I think almost anybody can fuck anybody. As long as you're not like in a direct position of power, then I think it's fine. Do whatever.
But aren't you in a direct position of power, considering how much influence you have on the platform? You could literally make her break her career.
I mean, you could, but like, you could for anybody, right? Like, it's not if they like worked for you or something, then that would be fucked. But if you're just like on the same platform, then no, I don't think so.
Hold up. But you say work for you in the sense that, like, you control like their access to opportunities to some degree or whatever, right? But you could pretty much give the bitch a promotion.
If you were like flaunting it like that, then it gets a lot. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say it gets hairy. I think some people say that it's wrong to float the offer in front of somebody, but I mean, like, if you're both adults and you know what the fuck is going on, you probably shouldn't do it because it's immoral for like external reasons, but I wouldn't say it's inherently exploitative. I would say it would be immoral on the part of the person offering, like, hey, I'll host you and do this shit if you fuck me. And it would be immoral on the part of the person, like, oh, I'll fuck you if you give me the host. I think both of those would be like pretty equally immoral. So the immorality would be the damage to the integrity of the industry or your business model, not like anybody exploiting anybody, I think.
Has anybody tried to fuck you for a come up?
No, I wish. The problem is I'm not connected that well. So like if you're trying to fuck me to climb in your career, I'm the last stop. Okay, you would have to go through other people to get to me, and then I'm the top because I'm not like super connected to the Twitch crowd. I'm not super. I guess I'm connected to you now a little bit. So maybe girls will fuck me to get to you, but otherwise, yeah, I'm not the best like clout fuck in the world, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, listen, you've answered all my questions, and I'm glad we could come to some kind of consensus. I broke 3 keyboards during that live stream, so I'm going to ask you for a refund on 2 of them.
Okay,
Bro, the fact that you thought I was so mad was making me laugh. Everyone's like, oh, Abba's molding.
No, I always say that half joking, but YouTube chat was mad, but sorry, go ahead.
I won't lie, though. I do get annoyed a lot when I hear women talk about like what guys need to do in terms of helping their dating odds. Like that shit always rubs me the wrong way. And for viscerally, and I don't think it's a good thing that it rubs me the wrong way, but it does. Because I just feel like there's just so out of touch with like what dudes struggle with. So I don't know. It always sets me off when I hear the delusional advice.
Yeah, I mean, but how hard I push is going to depend on who I'm talking to. Like, if I end up going on Fresh and Fit, I'm probably going to come off as like an ultra fucking progressive lefty person. But if I'm almost,
you sounded pretty red pill today.
Yeah, today I did, but that's because it was like another super lefty guy in the call. But like, if I'm arguing with super lefty people, I'm going to come off as like fucking ultra red pill, black pill or some shit. You know, like it just It is what it is.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Since it's on the topic of all that stuff, do you think it's acceptable that there's the dynamic that men can sleep around and women can't?
No, I think it's a shitty dynamic for a variety of reasons. I understand why it exists though, but I don't like it.
Why do you dislike it?
Because I personally like women with more experience, and I don't want them to be ashamed of fucking having it. I super am turned off by the prospect of fucking virgins. It's that sounds mean to say, but like it's generally not as good as fucking people with more experience. Yeah.
But you don't feel like there's an issue with women being whores?
I personally don't. I don't care. As long as everybody's like being responsible, safe, protect yourself from STDs, get tested, and all that shit. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. So you don't feel like that makes you a bit of a cuck or a simp?
Cuck by definition, absolutely not. I'm literally in a fucking open marriage. I mean, what are you asking me? Like, also, if people want to be doing a cuck shit or whatever, I think that's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. Fucking whatever your sexual fetish shit is. I think that there's like a whole line of thought to go down here. But like it's kind of at a dead end because people are very emotionally dug in. Like my argument, I would say that like any guy that is threatened by other guys doing it is immensely insecure. If you want to have it on your own, if you want to be like a monogamous relationship, or you want to be the girl that hasn't fucked many people, that's your right, I guess. But I think that men are just like I'm really competitive by nature, and I think a lot of men are very like threatened by nature. So like a lot of guys, like, why do you care if your woman's fucked a lot of other dudes? Oh well, because maybe they had a bigger dick than me, or blah blah. Like I think that's what they're thinking 99% of the time. They might cope with some shit like, oh well, I want it to be special or blah blah blah, some shit. I don't think it is. I think it's usually because like anytime they fuck their girl, they're just seeing all the other guys that girl's fucked, and they're worried that they're not going to measure up. That's what I feel like it is. But I could be wrong.
Well, I think it's just a status thing. It's like if you get a car off the lot, and it's brand new, you don't want other people to be driving it because that's your car. So
I mean, you don't want people to drive it while you have a car. But again, like even that analogy, the idea like what, like somebody with miles on them is like a fundamentally worse person. Like I just think that's like it's so weird.
Yeah, that would be the argument. It's like the car has more mileage, therefore it's more useless and it's about to be thrown out. So you want a car with less mileage.
Yeah, but like if a guy car has more mileage, it's better, or?
Yes, because men and women are different.
Yeah, I don't know. I just fundamentally disagree. But I mean, I understand why people think the way they're doing.
Men and women are different.
No, they're different, but I fundamentally disagree. Like in the car analogy, I would rather have somebody with more miles on them than like people that are virgins at like 25 or 30. That's very fucking weird to me. It would be like the sex probably just wouldn't be as good. But also, I'm like big on like performance and stuff, and not just like the experience of like getting to fuck a virgin. So I don't know. I'm speaking derogatorily towards it. I think everybody can have their own.
But I think you're being a utilitarian right now, where you're just seeing like the utility of the thing, and you're being like, oh my god, well if she fucks everywhere, she gets better, so it's good for me. While other people think of their partners as not just their partners and the mother of their kids, but also like status symbols. And so I think when you think about value and things like that,
yeah, but why the value of somebody that like fuck, hold on. It's really hard not for me to load these statements because they're going to sound really derogatory. But like, it just sounds to me like an insecurity thing. Like you're so worried that this person's been with other people. Why? Because you think they're better than you, or like it almost sounds like you're trying to trap a girl and be like, oh, I love this chick. She hasn't been with a single other guy, so I know she'll be happy with me. Like that just seems really weird to me. Like I don't know.
Right. But I mean, that's irrespective of how you feel about it. That's how the world thinks about it.
Most guys do. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess that's what they're saying. Their argument would be that because of that, they would look at you differently. Like,
yeah, they probably would. A lot of guys do. Dude, people call me a cuck and shit all the time. Yeah, of course they do. I'm not under any fucking illusions. Yeah.
Right. And you might not care about it because you're kind of mentally broken. Okay. But other guys would care about that.
Yeah, of course. Probably. Yeah, for sure.
If a dude was dating a girl.
I mean, how many times, a guy finds out, like,
open-minded.
How many times a guy finds out, like, oh my God, like, this girl fucked one of my friends. Like, I can't be with her anymore. You know? Yeah, guys think that, shit like this all the time. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so I think as a result, that's why folks. So if you have to take yourself out of it, and we had to look at it from a more large-scale perspective, and you're speaking to most men, you'd have to kind of look at it differently, no?
Yeah, well, yeah, you were asking me my opinion. If you want me to speak for most men, yeah, I think most men probably value fewer sexual partners in a woman and everything.
Well, if I'm a man who's watching a content creator, okay, and I want somebody to, help me through my insecurities and stuff like that, I wouldn't go to you because you're kind of like just different.
Yeah, sure, but so I mean, you would go to another guy to just reinforce your insecurities. Like, I mean, a lot of people probably do, but like, oh yeah, like this guy's telling me everything I need to hear about how insecure I am about my partner potentially having other partners. Like, I don't know, this seems kind of sad, but
yeah, okay.
But I mean, I understand that's how a lot of people think. Like, yeah.
Well, there you go. I try to steel man their position as best as I could.
Gotcha.
Hopefully it was effective. I know YouTube chat's like, oh my God, that was so disgusting. I don't think they realize I'm behaving like fresh and fit at the moment too.
You're good. I hope they call me a cuck. That's good. I'm going on the girls' night
You
thing
are
after,
a cuck.
I'm gonna
You
fuck
are a cuck.
every single
That's
fucking
facts.
girl on that show. Okay, I'm gonna be orgying.
Do you have any idea their live stream chat?
I'm gonna bring fucking Melina with me at the end, and we're gonna be fucking orgying with every girl that shows up.
No, hold on. Melina's going with you?
No, I don't think she is, but it'd be funny. But they would fucking hate her, so.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you should definitely open up the whole thing, being like, listen, I let my girl get fucked by other dudes.
Yeah, she might be fucking somebody right now. Yeah.
If you open with that, I'm telling you right now,
they're gonna lose it 100%.
They're gonna lose it from that point on. But anyways, man, listen, you have fun doing your thing, and it's always a pleasure talking, man.
Yeah, I love you, buddy. Be careful. Okay.
Peace.